What's up, guys? It's Greg, Coffee Fuel, uh, Best Damn Vape Show. Yeah, that one right there. Um, this is Friday. Happy Friday to you guys. And what I had planned for Fridays is something that I call Five Question Fridays, where you guys on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you get in your questions to somebody specific in the industry, and then I ask them and share the answers with you guys. So to start out, I wanted to um, get you guys to actually ask me questions, whatever you wanted to know. I picked out five of them. One of them is actually a two-parter, so it does count. It's two questions, but I'll take a quick few minutes to try and explain these to you guys and give you some answers. So, first question is from Steven on Facebook asks, who's your biggest influence in vaping and why? Um, Story for you guys, super quick, and I'll try not to bore you too much. But when I started vaping 2 years ago, I found an app called Vape Boss. Before I got into the Instagram and the Facebook, I wanted to really find out the products and what else out there on the market. And Vape Boss was pretty cool because there was also a social media aspect that kind of introduced you to what's on Instagram now. And one of the people that I started talking to, her name is Liz. You can find her on YouTube as Red Fox Vapes. Was pretty much the first person that I connected with as far as what products are you trying. She was also getting into YouTube and blogging. Sorry about the trash truck. Um, but this was somebody that I could really connect with as far as discovering more about the industry at the same time as somebody else. So I think if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be doing all of this with you guys. I wouldn't be really trying to put myself out there on social media because I'm a very shy person. So go figure. So good question though. Next one is from Ron. He asks if vapors had input into consumer regulations, what are the top three regulations that you would put in place? I think as far as the FDA regulations, that most of them hit home as far as what we were looking for, the age restriction, making sure that you were 18 years old to purchase. Some kind of regulation as far as the standard of quality of juice, making sure that you're not doing bathtub juice, that you're actually doing it in an ISO 7, ISO 8 lab. But I think the third thing would be some kind of control over the marketing. And I know you guys have seen products that look really close to something that's already on the market. I've written about the America, which was a play on like the McDonald's apple pie and stuff like that. Stuff that's really close to copyright infringement. I think it's a no-no, and I think it looks bad on the industry. So that would definitely be something that I would enforce if it were up to me. So Max on Facebook asks, "What was your reason to start vaping, and have you found it to be a change that's been beneficial to your health?" So, quick background for you guys that haven't heard the story yet, but I started vaping 2 years ago, and it'll actually be 2 years next Friday, where I found out that I had health issues. And the treatment was very risky because it put me at high risk of a heart attack and stroke. I was 32 years old, and with being a smoker, the chances tripled, quadrupled. It was almost a guarantee that I would at least have a heart attack or a stroke at some point if I continued to smoke while taking the treatment. So vaping seemed like a logical step for me, but I started writing and I started putting stuff on social media to kind of keep myself in check as far as what I was trying and stuff like that. But has it been beneficial to my health? Absolutely. I smell better. I have more energy. I can breathe better. All in all, I'm a much better person to be around. Definitely a lot less depressed because I know when I was smoking, the closer I got to the end of a pack, or if I was out of cigarettes for the day, I was not a good person to be around. So vaping has definitely helped out as far as that goes too. So good question. And the last one, it's kind of a lengthy one. So can you explain amperage draw from batteries and suggest batteries that would be good for higher wattage compared to batteries for lower wattage? Um, yes and no. I'm not well versed as far as the different types of batteries. I use LGs, I use the 30Qs and Samsung 25Rs. I very rarely actually use the 25Rs, but I didn't actually look much into the voltage drop in my batteries, but I'm going to try and explain Ohm's law to you guys so you understand more what your batteries are doing. But what I would highly suggest is you guys go and check out Mooch's video. Mooch is very well versed in batteries, and he could probably explain the stuff a lot better than I can. But I want to try and put Ohm's law and batteries into a perspective that maybe you guys would understand a little better. So, first off, what is Ohm's law? It's basically an equation that helps to translate electrical flow in a circuit. So if you produce a source of energy or a power source in a circuit, the equation should be able to tell you how much of an output there is. So you have voltage, you have amperage, and you have wattage and resistance. Voltage is how much power your battery is producing. 3.7 volt, 4.2 volt. Think of it kind of like a water pipe where the water that is being pushed out is the voltage. Amperage is the flow. So it's actually defined as the number of electrons that pass by a certain point within a time frame. So think of that as the flow of water past that certain point. Wattage is the combination of the two. It's voltage times amps. So you can adjust that. I mean, there's times when you can push more power out from the battery to get a lower amperage, or you could use less battery power to produce more flow and still have the same wattage. The key element to that is the resistance. And going back to the water pipe scenario, it's your resistance is like the size of the pipe. How easily is that electricity flowing through the system? So if you build something at, let's say, a higher resistance, I know for a lot of us at sub-ohm, higher resistance could be a 0.4 or a 0.5. If you run the same wattage at a 0.4 resistance, you're going to see pretty steady flow, but once you change that resistance, once you drop it down but keep the wattage the same, it's going to be a harder push to get that electricity to flow through. So when you look at mods and when you look at voltage drop and things like that, these are all things to take into account, because an unregulated mod is just Ohm's law. There is no adjustment for wattage. There is no adjustment for voltage unless you have a potentiometer. But it's just going to be, you hit the button, there's the output. With a regulated device, though, you have to take into account the circuit for the battery, the circuit for your atomizer, and then if there's any kind of chip that's going to regulate the flow. whether you have something in your Alien or whatever, there's a chip inside, and even PWM boxes. They have a separate chip that requires a little bit of extra electricity to maintain that flow and to make sure that you're not going to push out the maximum amount of power at any given point. So, yes, there are batteries that would work better for higher end devices and can actually give you a longer battery life. I know for me with the LGs, there's a slightly higher mAh, which it's a way of measuring amperage, and I'll get into explanation on that later. But there's a slightly higher mAh, slightly higher amperage output, so it can handle more pulses at a higher resistance. So for me, if I run, let's say 75 watts, I can get a much longer battery life than if I put 25 hours in, which I think are like 2200 mAh. Memory serves me right, I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's actually, I have them right here. It's 2500 mAh. That's what I have right here. It shows you the size of the battery, 2500 mAh, which is like a 2.5 amperage. But yeah, I know for me running at higher wattage, LG tends to run a little bit better. But if I did, let's say 45 or 50 watts at 0.3, I would probably get roughly the same amount of battery life that I would on the LGs at higher resistance. Does that make sense? I know I kind of ramble sometimes with stuff like this. But yeah, hopefully that water pipe scenario would help you guys understand that the voltage is the water pressure or the amount of water that's being pushed out. The amperage is that water flow, and then your resistance is the pipe size. So it's a good analogy, I think. But if you guys have more questions about batteries, I mean, I can look further into this and try and explain it to you guys in better detail. But like I said, Mooch is very well versed on the many different types of batteries, so that's definitely somebody I would recommend for you guys to check out. Anyway, that's it. That's 5 Question Friday. So make sure you guys are following on Facebook and check out the other videos too, because next week we're going to start right back over again. And I'm always open to suggestions from you guys, so leave a comment, follow us on social media, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe. So, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.